I'm Eiman Abdel Meguid, a senior lecturer in education at the School of Medicine, Dentistry and Biomedical Sciences Education. I am also a senior fellow of the Higher Education of Academy and a fellow of the Anatomical Society. I teach anatomy with respect to its clinical orientation to the dental students, who are enrolled in the master degree in clinical anatomy, and I'm also the unit lead for the musculoskeletal 2 for year 2 medical students. I'm also the internationalization champion for the Center for Biomedical Sciences Education. I work on building partnerships between Queen's and other international universities. I also work as an examiner for the Royal College of Surgeons.
My name is Gift Sotonye Frank. I'm from the School of Law here at University Belfast. So I'm a lecturer on the education contract. I currently also the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion lead in my school, the first of its kind in my school. So I'm currently trying to shape what the role should look like and, develop, our EDI templates and toolkits so that going forward, it's not really guesswork what we should be doing at the school. Yeah.
So my field of research is in medical education on motivation of learning, because motivation has proved to be a strong drive to student engagement. I have published a paper about the use of audience response system. I was very recently an editor for biomedical visualization book, which was formed of 10 chapters. So these are my field of research. I was able to do my PhD thesis at Eberhard Karls University Tübingen. After that, I moved to Saudi Arabia as a lecturer in anatomy, and I worked there for 15 years. During this time, I worked very hard, and I was dedicated, to teaching, research, and leadership roles. In 2014, I saw a job vacancy on Queen's website. They were looking for an anatomist. When I looked at the job description, I found that it really matched very well with my expertise. So in September 2014, I joined QUB.
I'm originally from Nigeria. Still am Nigerian anyway, and still working towards my, permanent stay perhaps in the UK. But when we first came into the UK, my husband and kids, were living in England, and my husband was doing his PhD. So that was like our family life at the time. And towards the end of his PhD, I wanted to do my own PhD, and I started out at the University of Leicester, just, trying to do like a program there. And when I finished that, I thought, okay, I'll do a PhD. And I applied to Queen's and several other universities. But what really drew me to Queen's was the Lanyon building, still very much an attraction in Belfast. But I saw the advert on Facebook and I was like, wow, this building is beautiful. And I think it's still one of, the assets that Queen has in terms of, it's just a beautiful building, and I wanted to come and see it. And it just reminded me when I walked on the grounds of, the campus, it just took me back to some time when I was at Yale University. If you've ever been, to Yale in the United States, it just felt so like this is that campus I liked so much when I was in Yale. So I thought this is the place. And also, thankfully, I did get funding from Queen's, so naturally I just went with the funding as well. But I think it was the two coming together was such a delight that I liked the campus, but also the funding came to support me to be here. So, and then I got good supervision from my supervisors. I just felt so blessed, really.
Number one is the language, because in Germany I was asked to, to sit an exam before starting my PhD thesis. So that was the Grundstufe 2, which is the second level, and I was having only 4 months to pass the assessment in order not to lose the scholarship. So it was very tough in the beginning, and at this time my son was only 2 years old. So it was not an easy, step, but I have achieved success at the end. Moving to Belfast was really a much easier step, because English is. I have been, at school since I was very young. English was taught every day in my school, and people was welcoming, and the atmosphere was really nice. So it was for me it was much easier than starting at Germany in the beginning.
And having done the PhD, had a wonderful experience. My research was on gender stereotyping of pregnant schoolgirls, and one of the things that came out from just researching on that topic was this idea by Laura Lundy on how we should involve children in participatory exercise, but that can also come on into any field of work if you're talking about participation. And yeah, so maybe we can talk more about what participation entails, but I know I've had a good time here being a student and now being on staff. But I have to say that being a student was really a great time to just even build community, because when I first arrived, I did feel isolated as a minority person, one, but also the PhD is such a lonely journey that I just thought I need to build community. And then thankfully the graduate school had funding, and I began to organize community events for ethnic minority women, and that really made us have friendships and promoted belonging. Because I think belonging is something that will help you thrive. If you don't feel like you belong to any community, you struggle academically, and I just didn't want to struggle, so that really helped. And I think community building just promotes that sense of belonging, and I was just so glad that even in doing that with international students, international women, I got nominated to be Best Student of the Year in 2019, which not expecting it at all, because I was just doing what I thought was needed, but that got recognized, so I really feel blessed with that. Yeah.
So I start from the beginning. I was very interested in equality. In 2017, I led an important event in Azerbaijan on reducing gender inequality in leadership roles. Also, I was looking to join the Gender Equality Committee. I was able to join the school staff council, and they were looking for someone to represent them at the Gender Equality Committee. So I have nominated myself and got accepted. And since then, I enjoy being a member in this dynamic group. Recently, there was an expression of interest for racial equity champion that was circulated. I have nominated myself as I was always very passionate about racial equality.
When I joined the school, I set out to be the race equality champion. That was really what I was interested to do. But I think more broadly, the EDI will encompass race equality. So I have now stepped into the EDI role just so that we are doing much more than race, even though race will still be at the forefront of what I would like to see some changes, within our school and within the university. Minority people are constantly being asked to put in labor without any reward. So why should we give of our time and resource to the school, maybe perhaps for them to tick a box, but there is no return on that type of work. And so colleagues are like, I'm not interested, I'm not doing this role, because I've been here long enough to know that it doesn't benefit me, it doesn't benefit my career, so why should I? So that too, for me, stepping into the role has been a struggle, because it's like we have to value this work, and this work has to be valued. You know, somebody has to take on this role and do the work. And although unfortunately most times people from minority ethnic backgrounds are looked at to sort of say what should we be doing, I find this often when it comes to race issues, because it's only the time when you're kind of looked at, and in other circumstances or maybe other types of work, we are not the go-to people. We're not asked to step in, even though it's out of our comfort zone, to try those new challenges. So to me, that is where there is an imbalance, because there's so many fantastic work going on in the university that people from minority ethnic backgrounds can also be asked to do, right? And not just when it has to do with race. So that's, I think, part of the resistance that I have experienced even in my short time doing this role, is that we're not doing work that is not recognized. Yeah.
There is a new initiative called the African Scholar Research Network. I have been elected by more than 50 QUB researchers and Northern Ireland researchers to be one of the 5 council members for this network. The number 5 is symbolic for the 5 African regions: the Eastern, the Western, the Northern, South Africa, and Middle Africa. So this African Scholar Research Network vision is to be home for African scholars to flourish. And the mission is also that we would develop and grow the scholarship done by African researchers.
I mean, like any work towards equality and equity is welcome. So it's great that the university is taking the steps to make this happen. But I think maybe we've been on it for a while now, and we need to sort of get the report card for ourselves. Like, how are we doing so far? You know, where are we? That sort of accountability. So yeah, I suppose haven't been here for, like, the Race Equality Champions Network has been here for a while, and to see that the conference that was recently held just only happened was, I suppose, a good thing in one way, but also why is it taking such a long time to really sort of map what it is that is required and begin to implement some of the things. And I don't think that minority people or people of a different racial background have not been around in Queens for a while. They have been. So the issues are new and novel to Queens, and maybe, you know, whether on campus or outside of the campus. So it's great that they're taking steps, but I would have liked to see, you know, more commitment and implementation of some of the things that have been said already.
We hope that we can build an interdisciplinary research network that will promote QUB, the QUB research profile and the international research reputation. We hope that we can host next year a conference where we can invite African researchers from England, from Ireland, and from other places as well. We are having a very strong scholarship agenda that will highlight our scholarship activity. In both activities regarding the research, the racial equity champion and the African scholars, we are going to look at barriers for career progression and also for the opportunities to get more involved in senior leadership roles.
As a people who have come together to see race equality happen within our campus, we should be working together, talking to each other inside the room and when we're outside the room. But I sometimes don't feel this is happening enough, that we're not talking outside the room on collaborations, on projects, on initiatives, and maybe just holding ourselves accountable to what we are committed to doing so that we can see results. You know, coming from someone who really feels like they belong here in Queens, I do feel that genuinely. So it's coming from a place of we can make it better. And while we're doing the great work as Queen's University, sometimes I feel like going back to some of the things I did in my research, participation has to do with voice. And I think this is what we're doing here. You're giving platform for people to use their own voice to speak. But there also has to be the space to do that, which is also happening. We've had the conference. There's been a space, but also there has to be an audience. And that's where I think it has to be the right audience when you call for things that have to do with race equality. So audience and then influence. So who is able to influence what has been heard, who was in the room. So these four things are part of how we can make participation meaningful. And I think we're doing the right thing by having the space for voice, recordings, podcasts, conferences. We also have the audience. So senior management, I think, can do more by actually being an audience for when we have something to say as a Race Equality Champions Network, and also just influencing. We need the influencers, the people who can make it happen, like yourself, I'm sure, and every other person who has the ears of those who can actually make things happen. We need all these four elements to actually see these things happening. And I know some of it is in place, or maybe all, but at different levels, and it's just making it bigger and better.
I believe that together we are stronger and we are more capable. And I really hope that Queens would be a UK lead in racial equality. So we are working together as all the racial equity champions together. We plan to make a difference. There is room for improvement, and I'm sure that we are going to achieve our goals.